W3JOE. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another episode of Cup of Joe with Web3 Joe. That's Web3 Job Ops and Events, your hub, headquarters, home base for Web3 talent and recruitment. If you're listening to this and you're looking to get started working in Web3 or you have some experience, tap in. We would love to speak with you. Got a few pinned tweets up top. We'll go over those in just a second. But I am Gambler, your host. We are here every Wednesday, every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, discussing how to get started working in Web3 or how to advance your career if you're already here. We do that by bringing on dope individuals like our honorable guest of the day, Mr. Jeremy Knows, to talk about how they did it and any tips they may have for you. I'm very happy to see some friendly PFPs in the audience. Shout out Gentle Tornado. I hope you're well, brother. Sending you love. Shout out Dan Fialo. Sending you love as well. Anybody listening on the YouTube, I just call it on the YouTube. Oh man, I'm definitely unstatus. On YouTube, on Spotify, we appreciate you. On X, again, we're here every Wednesday, every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And today, we have about 20 to 30 minutes. So we're going to get through as many questions as we can until then. And as always, any likes, retweets, comments up top are appreciated. The first two pinned tweets are the promo for this space. And then we have a couple job openings that may or may not interest some of you listening, some of you here with us right now. And let's go ahead and get started with the conversation. Jeremy, thank you so much for the time. You always answer the call. And I know it's always busy for VFriends, but it feels like it's a little extra busy right now. So thank you so much for showing up as always. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and happy Wednesday to you too. Cup of Joe. This is episode 9, but this is the first episode that I've gotten to listen into. So I always love seeing you, find new avenues to provide value. So this is really cool, and I'm glad to be here. I I'll be honest, I didn't know the topics, and you like sent me that like really organized, like this is probably the flow what we're going to talk about, and I didn't look at it until just now. And ironically, like my experience with getting jobs in Web3 is so specific that it's sometimes it's hard for me to know, like, okay, how am I going to actually like provide any value to somebody who's trying to find a job in the space? But separate to that, and actually nobody knows this, so this is a little alpha for Cup of Joe, is I actually took another part-time job here in Cleveland that I haven't told anybody about, um, except for obviously like my team. And so I just went through the hiring process, and I think there will probably be some interesting things to pull from there. Um, and I'll save the punchline until I want you to do your flow, but like, but by the time you ask me about it, you'll be like, oh yeah, relationships are the best way to get a good job. Like it just like the network effect and relationships is like ultimately the punchline to anything I'm gonna say about getting hired. But we'll see where the show takes us, and yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Dude, congratulations on the new role. And I know you just moved too, right? You just left New York.
Yeah, I've been in Cleveland for 5 weeks,
You
and
settled in?
I'm
Well, you just got a
uh
job,
I'm
right?
pretty settled. I'm pretty settled in, man. Like, there's always more to do, but Haley and I were very adamant when we got here that like we're not going to be the kind of people that live out of boxes for months. So, and then I had to go spend a week in Chicago for the National with V Friends, like 2 weeks after we moved. So that was like the target of like get out of as many boxes as possible before then, and we pretty much did. So then once I got back, it's just been like fine tuning my office space. I mean, brother, for the first time in my life, I have a dedicated office. It's like it's a massive upgrade here, and to be honest, I don't miss New York in the slightest. I'm sure I will eventually, but I really only miss the people. I don't miss the flexibility that we have here. And I've got a little, yeah, I'm starting to like build my office into zones. Like I've got my desk, then I've got an L side of the desk for manual like writing and like tangible things. Then I've got a closet where I set up a little packing station for the stuff we do on the shows. And I got a little collector's corner off to the side. So like I'm figuring out the next thing I want to do is figure out like the easiest way to, I don't know if I get a green screen or something to have a static tripod that I can just hit record and create content in here as well. So yeah, I'm feeling I'm loving Cleveland and yeah, feeling good.
You sound inspired, bro. You sound like you have a
I am.
vision and visions, and you're gonna create that office exact. It's gonna be everything you need, just like Cleveland is gonna be everything that you and Haley need. I hope she's doing well, by the way. And
Yeah.
yeah, she's doing all right.
She is. Yeah, she starts teaching on Monday. So it's been nice to be able to settle in before all that new madness starts.
Beautiful. I will say it is interesting to hear you say that, like, you view your story and journey as a little bit. I mean, everyone's story is unique, right? But that you view it maybe a little extra unique in the sense of like it can be a little hard to give value to others, because I don't see it that way at all when I think about your story. But of course, no one knows your story like you. But for those
Yeah.
of us who maybe are a little less familiar, even though I see so many freaking amazing, friendly PFPs in the audience, shout out Sultanali, Gentle Tornado's been kicking it with us. Shout out Lynchy. Shout out to the homies G Muggs, Dan, LG, Cruz. But for anyone listening, could you give us like a quick rundown of how you made it to this crazy space and then how you ended up with VFriends?
Yeah, so the quick rundown is before COVID, I was a in-person teacher and an IRL performer, so performing in random venues, immersive environments, street performance, and so I've been doing live character work for 10 years or so, and that all like came to a screeching halt with COVID. And then when things started to come back like early 2021, I really didn't know if I wanted, like, how I wanted to re-engage with the industry. And I had been crypto curious for a few months. Like my crypto journey started like end of 2017, 2018, with one of those like calls you get from a random friend of like, hey, don't ask me why, just buy Bitcoin, like I'll explain it to you later. Got me to download Coinbase, and I had some of that crypto for those years, but like didn't understand it and didn't bother to understand it until end of 2020. And so I had been DCAing for a few months, and also told a couple friends to do the same. And one of those friends was a big Gary Vee fan, and he hit me up and he was like, he knew that I followed Gary as well. He's like, do you know what this NFT thing is? And I had no idea, but we decided like, Gary's the man. We're gonna be ready to mint a Gary Vee NFT on May 5th, 2021, and the mint was delayed, but the project was revealed. So they pushed live the VFriends website, and I was ready that day, just on the off chance that the mint wasn't delayed, because I had FOMO and I didn't want to miss out. And we didn't even know the mint price at the time. So actually, me and my friends, we pooled all our ETH together, thinking we would just be able to get one. And then when VCon was announced, we were like, okay, we'll get one VFriend. We'll be able to like each go 1 year because it was 3 years of tickets. So funny to look back now at how it all played out. But on the website, there was a scholarship opportunity, which was by application only. So they reserved 5 tokens, not to be sold, but to be awarded. And a ton of us that were there in the beginning saw that and were like, yeah, I'm in, but they didn't have the details of how to apply. And so I just, through luck and delusion and the right skill set and the time afforded to me by not, just having I was working at a restaurant at the time. I just went all in on making content about friends for the week of the mint. And then I started to make friends, and I was like, well, I got to keep going. And then it was 2 weeks, and then it was 2 months, and then we ended up making two DAOs in the community. Like we went on a wild ride together. As I like literally the same Twitter I started the day that VFriends was announced. So about 18 months later, after I had applied to 4 or 5 positions at VFriends, I got an email, or no, I had followed up with the team. I was like, hey, it's been a few months. I'd love to know if there's any new positions opening up. And May, who's the head of social, emailed me back like, uh, yeah, Jeremy, thanks for following up. We'll wait for now. The Prez wants to chat with you. And I was like, oh, great. So that led me to reach out to Andy, and he was like, yeah, I'm just waiting to find the time because we want Gary to be there. And then I got really nervous, and I was like, well, shit, if Gary's going to be there, then like there must be something worthwhile. Like, Gary's the decision maker. So I kind of like was going into that meeting thinking that like this is my pitch opportunity. Like I was ready to like, lay out what I do, how I provide value, why VFriends needs it. And I got into that meeting, and like after the hello and how are you, Gary was like, we have a full-time position opening up and we think you're the right person for the job. And we spent the rest of the meeting talking about the specifics um and what that would entail. So that was the end of 2022, and February 2023 I started full time. So, my story is one of I really do think delusion is a really big part of it, but I had a certain skill set that I focused on one very specific thing, and um and I survived long enough to see it come true. So I do very much feel like I live a V Friends fairy tale, because like, this is I couldn't have imagined the challenges, and like, there's fun times and there's not so fun times, but like ultimately like this is what I wanted and I focused on it and I got it, and now it's just putting in the work every day so that it works for everyone, because obviously we have like 15,000 holders who are all relying on us and excited for us to make VFriends the number one NFT project in the world. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at today, in August 2025.
Man, dude, I never get tired of that story. First of all, but it feels
It's
like just
fun. It's a fun story.
it's a fun story, especially when, as you're telling it, I know that I had the pleasure of having a front row seat to a good chunk of it. And it feels like just yesterday, but it was not just yesterday. I remember how happy that everyone in the community was when they saw you get that opportunity. And even the way you just told the story, it's like you'll never be able to actually capture everything that went into getting that role. But I did appreciate, I wrote it down. You said luck, delusion, and timing, and I think that goes into anything and everything that we're trying to do. It's that old saying, right? Luck is when preparation meets, what is it?
Pre- Preparation meets opportunity.
Meets opportunity. Exactly. So, every opportunity isn't going to lead to something, but every opportunity makes that likelihood of something coming out of it that much higher, right? So, um,
Yeah.
I mean, that was 20, that was, you said late 22, early 23. What have been some of your favorite or most notable milestones that come to mind since you started working with VFriends?
Um, Not just because it sounds cool. Like the most notable milestone hasn't yet arrived.
Uh,
There's
that's such,
something.
that's such a
There's some.
Jeremy answer.
It is. It is. Well, around, so it sucks because like honestly, by this time, I fully expected to be able to talk openly about what I'm going to talk vaguely about right now. Um, and and it actually very much mirrors what happened at the beginning of my hiring. Like basically in the first couple weeks of working at VFriends, I sent a long email to all of leadership, and I was like, I know you know this, but like this is urgent and this is what the community needs, and I'd like to have a meeting to like really like make this case. And to Gary's credit, he like saw that urgency, and as soon as he read the email, replied to it 3 times and then called me to make sure that I knew how much he was aligned. And he was like, I'm traveling right now, but like let's get a meeting when I get back. And so like a month later we had that meeting, and most of the things that I wanted us to take on, he agreed with and actually like greenlit. And so in my mind, like I'm fresh at the company. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like Gary said yes. Like these things are gonna move. And 6 months to a year later, only one of them had materialized, and there were 4 or 5 items. And that's kind of emulates like um, what this that is that I'm looking forward to later this year is like this is an idea that I suggested March of last year, and then it took a couple months to like get the buy-in across the board, and we've been working on for like me and a smaller team have been working on for the better part of a year, but now like really all hands are on deck, and it's not going to like change VFriends overnight, but I do think that it will prepare us for a really promising 2026. So like we can after Comic-Con, which is October 9th through the 12th in New York City, uh I'll come back and we'll be able to talk about this. But that is something that like I've been working on with different teams for like a year. It's probably the biggest project that I've helped architect. The other thing that was really fun, that was very much like I know I hesitate to take too much credit because it's like a very much a team effort and all this stuff. But the VCon Viper PFP for the VCon 2024 art reveal was something that I felt was a nice change of pace versus like a singular artist spotlight. And I don't know what those are right now in the market. I'm sure they're not flying off the shelves, but I know that a lot of people who received them like really enjoyed that, and there's a handful of people that rocked them on the timeline. And my hope is that when VCon comes back, not this year, but eventually, that that those will see a resurgence and they will have a new meaning. Um, so that was a good one. Other milestones, so there was one of the big milestones was the first time. It was also the only time, but the first time that I flew private with Gary, and it was to the national in 2023. Gary doesn't actually like to fly private very much, is what I've gathered. Like mostly because like it's just a cost thing. But when he does, like I've never been on a private jet, and like the amount of like uh not personal time's the wrong word, but just like it's like a dozen of us like all there talking about where we're going, what we're doing, um and just sometimes just shooting the shit. Like it's like somebody opened a series 1 box on the plane, like it's just like tons of fun. Like I definitely felt like that was probably a milestone more of like feeling a part of the family. And um and And I would say another big one was when we really started to lean further into live streaming, and we moved our primary efforts from Fanatics Live to Whatnot, and they needed more hosts, and I was like there in the background being like, "Hey guys, I happen to have like 10 years of experience at this." And then they finally like saw that and like leaned into Jeremy Knows as a host personality, and it's been fun to bring that back and be known that way because I worked really hard to keep a good reputation as Jeremy Knows, and I'm proud of that, and I want to continue to grow that. I'm not in a rush, but like I have thought about like, oh, maybe it's time that the podcast comes back, and like how can I bring the podcast back without it being about speculating on VFriends, but just being about my opinion of things or talking about other interests I have, so yeah, I would say those are some standout moments for me.
It's amazing how things have a tendency to like come back full circle, huh? Like you just
For
listed
sure.
like so many amazing, incredible moments that I'm sure will stick with you forever. And yet the last thing you said is, well, and I'm also considering going back to the podcast, which I know a lot of you listening remember. Was it the Jeremy Knows podcast? Was it like
Yeah.
oh, that's what it
Yeah.
was? And you had hundreds of episodes, and I remember one of them, or not one. I remember one of the deals was you told Gary, you said how many episodes, how do you get him on the show? And I think he said he'd be on episode 500, right?
Yeah, there was something like that. I don't remember. I
or
did have
five
the
by five or something?
yeah, I had the opportunity to have him on the podcast thanks to somebody in the community gifted me an access session. And in that call, I was like, "Hey, can we do a podcast?" And he was like, "Sure, let's do it." And so we had like 30 minutes, and he was like, he joked about like, "Since you're never going to get me on again, let me give you the good stuff." And then right at the end, I was like, "What about episode?" I think you're right. I think it was like, "What about episode 555?" And he was like, "Yeah, we'll see," you know. Um, so yeah, that was a blast.
That's amazing, bro. I want to get into the practical stuff too. I love to see
Yeah.
all the PFPs in here. Shout out LB, Chasm, Sunwen Moon, Lynchy, all our friends listening to the recording, whether on X, YouTube, or Spotify. We're live with the one and only Mr. Jeremy Knows, and we're talking how to get hired in Web3. All right, so Jeremy, let's just get started. Top of the funnel. Like, what advice do you have for people who are wondering how to even get the conversation started? For example, how do you get a reply to a DM?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, the first answer that comes to mind is like you need to be providing value. Um, like the thing is the playbook is out there. It's just most people I think struggle with the consistency of it. Because like if I think it really depends on like before you're asking yourself like how do you get a reply to the DM, you have to answer a few questions. Number one is like, what skill sets do I have that can provide value to insert company? Then the other question is like, is there a company that I'm aligned with, or a founder, or a division of a company, whatever that might be, that is like my target, right? Because like one of the things that made it simple for me is like it was Gary and VFriends. And so like I didn't waste any time trying to get DMs from people that weren't Gary or VFriends. And I also wasn't hounding them, telling them I wanted a job every week. I just like when they put out a listing, I applied, and then I kept putting out content. Um, but so yeah, what value do I have to offer? Who do I want to offer that value to? And then I think the third question is why. And like like why do I want to do this? Why do I want to do this thing that I have skill for to these people that I think I want to work with? um Mostly just so like you have like that, you don't really need to tell the world about that necessarily, but like so you have some ground to stand on when you find yourself 3 months in and nobody gives a shit, and you're not getting the impressions you want, or like it's just hard because it's hard. But like for the DM thing, um it depends on who you're like. You just have to do your research. Like, you know how I don't know if you know this, but like there are people whose entire job is to prepare hosts and like socialites to know who's in the room at the party they're attending. Like this is very common in Hollywood and in business, where it's like you'll have an assistant who is simply dedicated to doing all the research of who else is invited, and giving the person that hired them the quick TLDR before they're about to meet, so they can look like they have that information, so they can look prepared. Um, so like if your target is Elon Musk, like if you want to become a ghostwriter for Elon Musk, that's going to be a very, very difficult thing to achieve, right? Because he's just flooded. But I think about some of the, I don't know how to classify them, but some of the like the builder community in the space, like somebody who's getting a lot of love right now, and I love seeing, is Fern from Proof of Play. um, like ICO Beast got the job at Proof of Play because of the brand that he had built, and he provided value on a wide variety of topics. I don't know how many people know ICO Beast's story. And this is super reductive because he was doing other stuff, but basically, like he was an on chain trader. He was doing his thing. He saw Blast and went heavy into the Blast ecosystem and made a lot of content and educated people and put people on. And when Blast started to crumble, he rotated and continued his content and built up a very reputable brand because he has values, basically. By the way, having values in the space is underrated. Um, but eventually, like, he basically got poached by Proof of Play as they were making their transition into abstract. And Proof of Play is a, a top tier dev team. They created Pirate Nation and a lot of on chain verification for gaming and all these other things. On chain randomness, stuff like this. So like, looking for those promising teams, I think you can get a DM from Fern really easily. Partly because he's very active, but like, if he doesn't reply to your first DM, use content. Write a thread about Proof of Play, and why it matters. Write a thread about other people who are talking about it. Like, the document don't create strategy is super useful. And also, if you're not if you're not a video editor, maybe you can learn. But otherwise, like, curation is also highly appreciated. So I think, like, um, if you are trying to get a job in uh, whatever the industry you're trying to get a job in, whether it's creative, community management, business development, uh, in investing and sourcing LP, like, whatever that is, like, if you can curate more information and strengthen the network of people who are already doing that, they don't have to take notice of you to, like, for that to become valuable. For example, let's say you want to, like, link arms with a promising Web3 founder. You could spend 3 months writing profiles and making content about the best Web3 founders in the space and making observations about the things that they have in common. And then each of those founders is probably going to see the post that you made about them. Like, okay, great, nice. Their communities are definitely going to see that. They're going to start to follow you. Like, you have to, like, build your reputation network to increase the probability of getting that reply. And then again, back to the beginning, is like, what are you asking for in that reply? If you're asking for a job, you're going to get turned down. If you're, like, offering something of value, you have a better chance of getting read, and then that gives you a better chance of a reply. I know that that was long.
No, no, but I mean, a lot of really valuable information there. By the way, how are you doing on time? I know originally we were shooting for 20 to 30. We can go maybe another 10 minutes or so, or we can start winding down now, depending on.
I've got half an hour. I might even
All
have
right,
a little more. I'm good.
all right, beautiful.
Yeah,
We'll probably
my 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 other one canceled. You're good.
Beautiful, beautiful. We got a full room. Again, shout out to everybody in here. In that case, if anybody's listening and you want to jump up, join the conversation. There was a couple requests earlier. I wasn't ignoring you, I promise. I just wanted to get through a few questions first. But if you'd like to jump up, ask a question related to the conversation, or contribute something, we would love to hear from you. Feel free to click that request button in the lower left-hand corner as we wait for you to jump up. Or if you just want to say hi, because there's a lot of homies I see in the audience right now that I would love to say hi to. But values. You touched on values, Jeremy. You said values are underrated, and I think it's worth expanding on that thought, because I think there's a lot to gain from considering. So, what did you mean when you said values are underrated in this space, and how can people leverage that to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's just mostly a dig at people who are grifting. Um, but in all seriousness, like, if you if you know where your values lie, you know where your boundaries of what you are willing to do and not willing to do, then I think, like, you will attract like-minded people. Like, things that I mean by values is, like, how do you treat people who are less fortunate than you, or maybe not less fortunate but less knowledgeable? Um, how do you how do you move when you're given an advantage or that maybe is unfair? You know, like, everybody's looking for alpha in the space, but, like, there for people, like, alpha is such, like, a loaded word, but, like, once you start getting into these different circles, you can start to identify alpha that is, like, not to be manipulated or, like, taken advantage of. Like, I'll give you the perfect example, and this is specific. This is very specific to meme coins, and I'm sure this still happens. I don't know. I haven't been in the trenches as much as, so I don't know how much this is as active anymore. But like, here's an example of somebody who doesn't have values or is just like being stupid greedy when they see a ping is like, if somebody says like they're about to revive a coin and they're going to try to CTO it, and then you come in and you grab 10% of the supply, you're an asshole, right? Like, that's what I mean by like, I guess I'm talking about like um just like respect, like just respect and kindness. Like, it's not that complicated. And then like once you start to build a following, like there's other things that come into play of just like being very thoughtful about the influence that you have over people. So that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah, I wanted you to expand on it, and I wanted to mention this earlier because I happen to believe, and I've said if I've said it once, I've said it a million times on a spaces, but I feel like this space creates an environment or has created an environment where people hard work and being a good person and soft skills are just rewarded, and I think they're rewarded, and being genuine and authentically wanting to be a part of a vision and something bigger, I think that's rewarded exponentially more in here in Web3. Now it also happens to come with, oftentimes you got to work harder, but what you're getting out of that work is again exponential. Like, which is why I wanted you to expand on that, because I wholeheartedly believe that that's part of why the opportunity here is so abundant, is because hard workers, genuine people, authentic people who are looking to build towards something bigger tend to get rewarded um, more often here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm biased.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like it's patience and it's frustrating, but like that's why consistency really matters. Like, um, yeah, showing up every day is really underrated. Like, you can provide less value more consistently and do better than somebody who's providing more value inconsistently, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. And again, even to your story, like I would argue that the odds of a CEO or a major influential individual, global individual like Gary, the odds of an individual like that paying attention or catching wind of your content, as genuine as it is, as amazing as it is, we can agree would probably be less if it wasn't Web3. I would argue. I think just part of the
Yeah.
journey,
Oh, no
right?
doubt.
Yeah.
I- it's so weird to say because like everybody, like there are you're the whole like you're early thing. Like, it's hard to know how early you are to like an asset class, but to like the social network of Web3, you're so early. Like, I've only just started to see more of these like leadership development circles, builder circles, like close a little bit, because now there's like two cycles or more of like, knowing each other. And like, it's the same way that like people come into the space and don't know who Kobe is. Like, I didn't know who Kobe is when I joined the space either, but like I've been around long enough to have an understanding. And there's definitely different types of OG classes, like versus traders, influencers, builders, scammers, like all that. But it is I do think it's still very early in the sense that like, if you're persistent, you can get to just about anybody in the Web3 space. I mean, look at what Thread Guy has done or Farouk has done just by having a content show. Like, Farouk went from being like a Web2 content creator to honestly getting a ton of hate for various like pump and dumps, at least accusations. Like, I haven't checked the chain. But then like found himself interviewing the president of the fucking country and like got his company acquired and like is now doing very big things. He didn't like, that wasn't luck. Like, that was consistency. And if you wanted to get to Farouk, you could. Maybe he doesn't feel too out of reach, but like, Ovi with Rect, or um yeah, like even like Garga at Bored Ape. Like, you can get to these people. It's obviously easier to get to them if you're in their token ecosystems, because they're going to be most attentive to those networks. But like, the social networks for all of these projects, communities, founders, etc., is still very, very much open, even if you're starting right now.
Yeah, and then even if you, I mean, the fact that you can just buy a token, you don't have to, but like the fact that you can, if that's something that's possible for you, and just
Yeah.
increase the likelihood that you'll make an impact or have some kind of interaction is pretty awesome. Again, not everybody can, and not everything's affordable, but the fact that we have these options is pretty cool. Uh,
Yeah.
FNCX, thank you so much for joining the stage. You've been super patient. Would love to throw the mic over to you, hear what you would like to add or share.
Nothing much. I just came here to say hi. Today itself, I found about the NFT. Sorry, I was not from long time. I didn't know it. Today I found. That's why I made the post on it. I called it. Let's listen to Jeremy what he has to say. Love you, man. Like I love how you are working. The community is really growing. That's all. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm just looking at your profile now. Nice little. Thanks for the tweet.
Well, appreciate your kind words, FNCX. Appreciate you jumping up and joining the conversation. Feel free to stick around and jump in if there's anything else you'd like to add. Shout out to Peg, shout out to Bren, shout out to Constantine, G Muzz, all our friends listening in the audience. We're gonna start winding down in just a bit. We got a couple more questions for Jeremy. Jeremy, you've made it to the interview. You've gotten their attention. You've proven that it's worth at least having a conversation. What are some ways that people listening can make sure that they are prepared when they go into that interview?
Um. Well, the best way to be prepared is to prepare. To state the obvious. I would use ChatGPT and ask it to um, emulate, like give it the information you can to ask it to anticipate what questions you might get. My wife just got this job here at Case Western University, and it's for a tenure track position, and so there's a lot more things that are involved. Like it's not like a regular job search. They actually like have to. It's like they enact a search, and then a committee is formed, and then that committee has to do all these different things. It's a very formal process, and she was unfamiliar with it. And she spent a lot of time just talking with ChatGPT and preparing answers to questions that she might get. um, so I think using the tools that are available to you is one. Doing your research on the person, if you can, you know get an answer for who you're interviewing with, so you can understand them better. Like, it might be as simple as like learning that that person is from Boston and being able to have something about Boston to mention to warm them up to you. You know, I hope that doesn't sound manipulative. It's actually not. It's just like it's just creating a space for you to connect. Because like at the end of the day, I'll never forget when Andy interviewed me. I technically, like, Gary had already offered me the job, but I still went through some interviews after that with Andy and with the creative lead, and so forth. And I remember when Andy was talking to me, and he knew that I was going to get the job, but we were still kind of talking about it. And he was like, "My one of my main responsibilities as the president of eFriends is getting good people. The more I can get good people in into VFriends, the easier it will be for Gary to do what he's going to do to build it up." And I say that because like interviewers need to feel a connection. On a base level, they need to see that you are competent to do the thing that you're being considered to do. So like if you're getting hired or if you're being interviewed for a job that you don't have the skills for, and you're like faking it, you better like put your head down and get better at the thing that you're about to do and have something to show for it and be able to talk on terms technically in whatever way you need to like, because like there's no harm, or maybe there is harm. There's no I wouldn't look down or criticize anybody who's interviewing for a job they're not actually qualified for, because everybody has to do that at some point in their lives. So there's nothing wrong with that inherently. Lying about it is a very fine line, right? Like you can't lie that you have done it before, but you can make the case that you are competent to do it. So like on it, I would say like there's there's a little gray area to that honesty, because like if you just like lay your cards on the table, you're like, I don't know a goddamn thing about engineering. I just like started learning with ChatGPT yesterday. Like you should not get that job. But assuming that you have some degree of satisfactory technical ability to execute the job you're interviewing for, interviewers want to hire people that they can connect with, that they think will be a fit for the team. Um, you know, in theater, a lot of the ways that I teach and a lot of the ways that I like understand the world are in the balance of three. The triangle as a shape, three sides. It's the most stable and strong shape that the universe has, and that is reflected in a lot of life. And there you have like the Holy Trinity. You've got all these different things. Um, Comedy comes in threes, so like I think three is a very powerful way of like looking at things. Whereas like a duality, when you're looking at two things, it's usually a balance and you have like a lot of gray area. But the third really kind of like um by introducing a third component beyond two, you can actually like learn more about the spectrum that you're looking at. That was a very esoteric way of saying in theater we have this saying, which is like uh and it appears in a lot of ways. It's like you can be two out of these three things. You can be good at what you do, you can be easy to work with, or you can be fun, like nice to work with. And they balance each other out, meaning if you are good at what you do, and what is it, good at what you do, nice to work with, and what did I just fucking say?
And easy to work with.
Good, easy to work with, good at what you do. Why did I just totally lose my train of thought? I'm so sorry.
I think you said fun, good, and easy. I think.
Yeah, it's not really about fun. I'm trying to remember. Uh, here's another version. It's like fast, cheap, and good. Have you heard this? Of like if you're a service
Yeah.
provider,
Yeah.
like you can either have it. It's either if you want it fast and good, it's not going to be cheap, right? So when it comes to hiring, it's like a lot of people would rather hire somebody who's not the best at what they're about to get hired for if they're a good person and they're nice to work with. So bringing it all back, landing the plane in the interview, you just like got to humanize yourself. You got to like show competence, and you need to be prepared to like also have a vision that aligns with what they're doing. Like it's also very like you have to have empathy for the person who's interviewing you. Like they want you to be the person that fills this role so they can stop having to do things that aren't related to their work and be interviewing people, right? Like they want this search to end, so like you just need to show up as that person. I don't know. There's a lot to it, man. It's an art form and it's hard, but
Yeah.
like you
No,
just gotta
absolutely.
prepare and be there.
I really appreciated your point on like it's not inherently wrong to interview or apply for roles that maybe you're not sure whether or not you're capable. But going into, I think the key is, like you said, is being authentic, being honest, and still having confidence, right? That doesn't mean you're lacking confidence. It's just having self awareness and understanding where you can potentially help and being ready to communicate that efficiently when the time for conversation comes. I
Right.
also think about I love The Office, and I think about this when I'm like maybe feeling a little nervous about interviews. I don't know if you guys listening, if you Jeremy have seen this episode where it's like they're competing with another paper company to get a salesman. I think I forget exactly what the crazy context is, but the punchline is they're trying to get this salesman or they're trying to compete against the salesman. Oh, that's what it is. They're both trying to pitch a client, Dunder Mifflin, the main
Mhm.
team, is trying to pitch a client, and another salesman is trying to steal that client from them, and they're actually listening on the conversation that this other salesman is having, and what they observe is they say, "Oh wow, he's making the client pitch to him, right? Like
Mhm.
he's making the client pitch to him why it's a good fit, as opposed to him going in there." And it's not always going to work like that, but I just highlight that to say that I think it's more beneficial to go into it with that perspective of like, how can we both make sure that by the end of this conversation, we have an understanding as to whether or not this would be a good fit for both of us, right? That's the
Yeah,
thing.
on like a very practical note, like have good follow-up questions. And yeah, like and this is like a very classic interview tip, but it's like the faster you can turn it from question answer to question conversation like connection, the faster they're going to see a world in which they can be working with you. They can have high level conversations with you, and like you are a match, you know, intellectually.
I got two more questions. First of all, negotiation tips on negotiation.
Oh, I suck at this. I suck at this. I countered V Friend's first offer to me, and it was like over the winter break, and I was fucking sweating balls, man. I was like, there's no way I screwed this up by asking for more. But like, you got to do it. I think what's really tough with negotiation is like is are you actually willing to not accept the offer, or are you doing it for the theater of it? um because like here's what I'd say is like I'm better at negotiation when it's not related to a job. Like if I'm doing a deal with an NFT or a card and I'm doing something OTC, and like it's easy to be like, okay, what's your ask? You know, nobody wants to make the first offer, right? The job is going to have to make you that first offer. And like when it happens in the interview, you're even like more on the spot. So it really depends on like what the circumstances are. But I would say like on a practical note, if it's over email, like try to get it in person for the conversation, and focus on all of the extras on top of the salary or the stipend first, and try to secure as many bonuses or clarity about, you know, benefits, time off, like whatever that looks like, before you agree to the salary. Because you might be able to secure an additional $5,000 to $10,000 that you would have otherwise wanted in cash for your salary through a sign-on bonus or whatever. And now that's already part of the deal, right? Versus like the bottom line of the salary. And then yes, I think it's difficult when it comes to like, do you need this job? Like for me, like I wasn't going to turn down the V Friends job no matter what the salary was, pretty much, like unless they offered me like, you know, a non-living wage, right? Um so like if you're trying to just get placement, you know, it's okay to want to like just accept the first offer, but it's worthwhile and it's good practice to ask for a little more, because the worst thing they're going to say is no. And and most, I don't know if I can say most people, but like I would say by that time, if they're making you an offer, they want you to take the job. And so long as you're not rude about it, I don't feel like it jeopardizes the job for you.
Yeah, great points. And I think it comes down to, like you said, like self awareness and understanding what your needs are, right? And
Yeah.
once you understand that, then you can understand what your wants are, and then being honest and not. I like what you said about, you know, not diving into the theater of it. Is being honest. What are your needs? What is a living wage for you? What do you want? What are some things outside of the bottom line number that can make this worthwhile as well? Whether that's an opportunity or actual benefits. Um, Absolutely. One more question for you, Jeremy. Is there anything that you wish you knew when you first got started working in the space that you know now?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I knew when Bored Apes would run, and I wish I knew about Ether Rock, and I wish I knew, you know, ETH was going to crash. I wish I knew Pepe was launching. I wish, it's really all you had to do was be here at the end of April, mint a board ape, hold it delusionally for 1000x, claim all the airdrops, sell it at the top, stable up at the top, wait, 8 months, and then just buy, 5% of Pepe and then just wait. So, I wish I knew all that. But in all seriousness, what do I? Um, I don't know, man. Nothing really comes to mind. Like I think. I guess when you ask me that, I really think more about markets than I think about people. Like like I've learned a lot by building relationships online, but like most of the skills of building those relationships are directly translate from the real world. Like I think if there's something I wanted to say right now, it's like I wish I knew I wish I knew how to better compartmentalize being a market participant versus being a community social participant. Like when I first started, I wasn't involved to trade at all. And when I did trade, I got really wrecked. So when I came to NFTs, I was just about holding. Like I didn't want to lose. And then it was a little bit later that I was starting to get FOMO and hearing about people minting and flipping and making all this money. And I was like, well, if they're making money, I should be able to make money. And that actually led to a lot of split focus and ultimately mistakes. Like, just not knowing so I guess try to learn from other people's mistakes when it comes to that. Like, not everybody is meant to be a trader, and most people lose trading. But if you can survive, it actually is a really valuable skill set. Like I have personally paid way more than I care to admit in tuition, giving losing money to learn the fundamentals of trading that I do have. And I'm no expert, but I can manage. So you don't have to pay to get into a big trading group, but if you want to spend your time in this space making money trading, don't conflate that with your job prospects. Those should be those are typically, and there are exceptions, but those are typically two very independent roads. And I think had I known that, I might have approached my assets very differently and maybe wouldn't have so I guess the other thing is even though it's unfair to say oh, I wish I knew when the market would top, right? So that I would have had a nest egg for the bear and wouldn't have been so stressed for various things. Like I guess the other thing is I wish I would have known that uh that when I wish I would have known how lucky I was to see the appreciation in my portfolio that I did, because I literally got into it for the long term. So when I had assets that 10x, I just thought everybody was 10xing their assets. Everybody else was holding. I might as well hold, and I think having a plan is very valuable, and then sticking to your plan is even more valuable. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, the worst case scenario is you're the best, because we work in the casino, right? The worst case scenario is you're the best casino manager there is, and you could be the perfect thing to take this casino. Maybe casino isn't the best example, but it's the first thing that came to mind. You could be the operations guy or gal to take this thing where it needs to go, but you're distracted because you're spending time at the roulette table, and you're not that good at roulette. I don't know how you can be good at roulette. Maybe that's not the best example, but
No,
that part, right?
yeah, no, 100% of and there's, it's okay to say that gambling is the most well adopted product market fit for crypto, but that's not actually why it will change the world. And that's also maybe it's partly, but it's not why institutions are adopting Bitcoin and Ethereum. You know, like Like, I put out a tweet yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. It was a little bit of shade, a little bit of smoke, because the amount of people that don't believe in the things that they're holding and only are holding them because of other people is shocking. It's actually like really deeply unhealthy. And I understand that there's a transitional period where like you kind of need to borrow another person's conviction first to be able to like experiment. But like, as quickly as you can, if you are doing that, if you're buying things because other people think that it's a good idea, as quickly as you can build your own thesis and your own conviction for it. And if you cannot, you should sell that shit now, because like the mental burden and deterioration of your trust is not worth that. Like, it's just like the time and like the latent stress is, it's just not worth it. Like, you're taking years off your life. You're literally killing yourself by holding something that you don't believe in. And that sucks. Like, it's really sad to see so many people in that position, but is what it is. um
And the lesson there is there's no shortcuts, right? Which can be applied to everything and trading and getting a gig and accomplishing all of your goals. So take that on you on the rest of your day, Jeremy. We are out of time, but I want to pass the mic to you one more time. Thank you so much for all the insights as always. Any final thoughts? That was my alarm. Any final thoughts before we get you out of here?
um any final thoughts? No, man, this was super fun. I appreciate you wanting people to get quality information. I hope I provided some quality information. um i i I hope, I mean, I know most of the people in this space, but for anybody who I don't know, it's nice to know you now. um yeah, I just continue to feel like participation is the most underrated thing. Like, you know, sometimes it comes with like really big rewards too. Like, if you participated in Hyperliquid when it first hit the scene, you got a 6 to 7 figure airdrop. You know, um, we won't talk about the invite code I got that I didn't use, but sometimes I think that it's just important to like build your own thesis and stick to it. Other times I think it's important to like question all of your beliefs and make sure that you still believe them. So I think, here's the other thing. In today's world, like literally right now today, like ETH is bouncing off of 4K, and I laughed at somebody in the Discord all 2 weeks ago. They were like, "Oh my god, ETH 3600. Oh my god, ETH 4K, and oh my god, ETH 4500, 4800. All these things." And then I saw them comment in the Discord yesterday, and they were like, "Oh my god, ETH 4K." And there were no exclamation points. And I replied, I was like, you literally said this exact same comment a week ago with the opposite sentiment. And it's just really easy to lose perspective when everybody has an emotional reaction to what's going on. And that's why it's so important to like protect your mind. Like, I think independence and confidence and like being able to have a critical point of view about the thing, whatever that thing is probably very attractive to most employers. So like trying to make it like relevant here is like you if you're trying to get a job in Web3, you're in a space that heavily values self-sovereignty. And so like the more you can position yourself as an individual and not somebody who's just going to like be a cog that fits the machine, I think the more you will attract um those opportunities.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Do not be a cog in the machine. Make your own way. Jeremy, you have given us tons of insight, as you always do every time you make it to a Twitter space stage. Shout out everybody listening. FNCX, thanks for jumping up on stage. Peg, Iceman, KT, LB, Sunone Moon, Hayden, Rarity, and anybody listening recording, whether that's here on X, Spotify, or YouTube. We appreciate you. We are here every Wednesday, every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. These spaces are powered by none other than W3JOE, which is Web3 Job Ops and Events, your hub, home base, and headquarters for Web3 talent and recruitment. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you give Jeremy a follow, give VFriends a follow, support our guests of the day. We're rooting for you.